Okay, we're going to do a few quick videos about solving literal equations to get you really, really good at it before we go back to doing some physics. First, we're going to start with what we do when things are multiplied or divided. As you know, when you solve literal equations, you're basically undoing the connections that you see between the different quantities. So if you see multiplication, you undo it with division. If you see addition, you undo it with subtraction. So let's practice this. In all of these, we're going to be solving for, excuse me, C. So here's my variable I want to solve for, which means I need to get it all by itself on one side. It is connected to the 2 and the b through multiplication. That's 2 times b times c. So if I divide both sides by 2b, the 2 and the b cancel out, and c is left all by itself. So I end up with a over 2b equals c. And of course, if you want the c on the left-hand side, you can flip it around and say c equals a over 2b. So now the tricky one, c in the bottom. Traditionally, students have the most trouble solving if the variable is in the bottom. So let's practice this. I want c. So I need c all by itself. I also would like c to be in the numerator because c is not in the denominator. Numerator, it's in the denominator. So I'm going to show you what I see students do. So I'm going to change to green, which is bad because red is stop and green is go. But okay, so what I see students do is they go, I'm going to multiply by 1 over 2b on this side, and I'm going to multiply by 1 over 2b on this side. And that's actually okay because the 2b here will cancel with the 2b there. And then, so I'll get a over 2b over here, but let me show you what students do. They then say, ta-da, that equals c. Well, no, it doesn't, because the c was in the denominator, and when you canceled the 2b, it left a 1 in the numerator, and that's 1 over c. Well, the good news is your effort's not totally wasted. If you recognize that you have 1 over c here, you can just invert both sides, and you get c over 1 equals 2b over a. The more straightforward way to do that, I would probably, starting with the original equation again, a equals 2b over c. I would multiply both sides by c, and that'll get the c in the numerator where I want it, right? Is multiply by c over here, and they cancel, multiply by c over here, and I'm left with c a equals 2b. Well, now I want c by itself, so I need to divide both sides by a. And I divide both sides by a. And then I get the same answer I did before, 2b over a. I think the most common thing that I see that is leading to student error is students not writing down each step. Students doing things in their head, and they see things like this, the error here, that it should be 1 over c. And they just see this quantity and go, oh, see, ta-da, without writing down, rewriting the equation each time, writing down each step they do. And so they make mistakes like this. I think if you would write each step down, you'll make far less mistakes. So again, let's try to solve for C in number 3. So we have a couple of things we need to do. We need to get rid of the 1/5 and the D. And I'm going to do it one thing at a time. To get rid of a 1/5, that is CD divided by 5, right? That's the same thing as CD over 5. I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal. So if I multiply both sides by 5, then the 5 in the denominator cancels with the 5 in the numerator, and I'm left with 5a equals CD. And now, to solve it, I'm going to switch up colors a little bit just to show that I'm doing something different. I still want to get the c all by itself. So I'm going to divide, since they're connected with multiplication, I'm going to divide both sides by d. The division will undo that multiplication. The d's cancel, and I have c equals 5a over d. All right, tippy top up here. I still want to solve for c. So I have one little more step I have to do. So I can't, here's a very typical mistake, that's why I included this one. What I have seen students do is they have gone ahead and multiplied by 5 here and by 5 here, getting 5a equals CD plus B. And well, that's just wrong. It's not divide a term by 5. It's divide both sides by, or multiply both sides by 5. And by both sides, it means every term on both sides. So you would have had to multiply that B by 5 as well. And so you can't do that. You need to undo the addition subtraction before you undo the multiplication and division. Let me see if I can bag this up and get rid of some of those mistakes and start fresh. All right, so we don't want to do the DE or the 1/5 yet. We want to get rid of the plus B. So I'm going to say minus B on this side and minus B on that side. So I get an A minus B equals 1/5 CD. Okay, so I'm still trying to get my C by itself. And at this point, I can attack the things that are multiplied and divided because I've gotten that addition subtraction stuff out of the way. So now, in order to get rid of a 1/5, just like we did, I didn't do a 1/5. I did a 5. Yeah, I did. Just like I did that 1/5 over there. I'm going to multiply both sides by 5. But the whole left-hand side. So that's going to be a 5 times and A minus B in parentheses. So that leaves me, well, like I said, 5 times A minus B equals CD. And now one last step, and you really could have done these last two at once, probably without making a mistake. But I'm going to divide both sides by D and rewrite my answer, make it neat. C equals, D's canceled, 5 A minus B over D. And from the quiz that you took, power is work divided by time, or P equals W over T. So this was, I think, the most missed quiz question. And it was done every which way but right. Well, it was done right by some people. I'm going to show you how to do it. And in another video, I'm going to show you all the mistakes that people made. This is sort of like the one over here where we solved for C that was in the bottom. We're solving for T, and it's in the bottom. So I like to get the T in the numerator first. Don't worry about that W. Multiply both sides by T. And then the T that you're solving for is in the numerator. So you don't have to worry about accidentally ending up with the inverse of T. So I have TP equals W now. And now I want to solve for T, and nobody would make a mistake if this were the problem. Divide both sides by P, and you get time is equal to work divided by power. P's cancel. Okay, so if you really don't want to get rid of the T first, if you want to start with P equals W over T, if you want to divide both sides by W or multiply by 1 over W, that's fine. But so I'll have P over W over there. You have to remember that when the W cancels, it leaves a 1 behind. And I have 1 over time. Not time, 1 over time. But you can invert it. If you've done that and you realize it, then you can say, well, time is equal to work over power. Invert both sides. You inverted the 1 over T and got T over 1. And you inverted the P over W and got W over P. Okay. Thanks for your time. I hope you found that helpful.